plan for today was to pick up the compressor now that it's been delivered to the local box store. Unfortunately, it's raining, and so that set the stage for doing some crane work so that I can lift the compressor when the time comes. The shop has a crane with a hoist on it that works great. The only problem with it is that the chains are too long, that both the lifting chain and then the chain you use to control the winch. I'm going to take this opportunity with bad weather to shorten both those chains. The lifting chain can just be cut down since it attaches on top of the hoist. The control chain is actually a little tougher because it's a loop, so I'm going to have to break that loop and then re-weld one of the links. The safety railing in the shop, kind of where the loading dock is put in with stake pockets so you can lift out sections of it and move the stairs around as needed. I'm just going to remove one of those so it's easier to work here. As you can see, these chains are pretty long. That's the control chain there, and it's a loop, and I have to loop it around inside that bucket, and it gets tangled on the lifting chain. The whole thing is so long that it's probably 2 or 3 times as tall as the ceiling, and it's just more chain than I need. So I'm just going to clean it all up, remove what I don't need, and make it a lot easier to work with. It's a lot easier to just move the welder over to where the chain is since it's looped around the hoist. I don't want to take the hoist down just to get that link welded in. So I'll move the welder over, work underneath the hoist. I use a little Dremel hand tool to cut the link. That's got a really small curve, so when I bend the link open, replace the new link, and then re-weld it, I'll have a really small gap to work with. The Dremel cutoff wheel is about the only thing I ever use in a Dremel. It's pretty useful. Once I get the link restored, I'll grind off the coating on top of the chain, because the chain's got some sort of galvanized or zinc coating on it. It's probably not great to breathe when welding, so I'll grind it off, clean it up as best I can, open the shop door, and it's a really small weld, so I'll just do a really quick tack to try to put that back together. This link metal is pretty small, so I'll set the welder up kind of based on welding sheet metal of that thickness. It's probably too hot, but I'll give one link a try. I've got 2 links to work with, so I'll see how that first one goes, and then I can make an adjustment if I need to do a second one. This first attempt was way too hot. It just burned up the link, so I'll try another one with a lot lower setting. This second weld looks way better. It's a little big, so I can grind it up, but it's super solid and it welded well. So that link's all patched back up at the right length for the loop, and testing it out, it seems to spin pretty well. It makes it through the hoist, no problem. Now to prepare to cut the fixed chain, the lifting chain, I can spin this all the way down to the ground so that the hook is down near the lowest point that it would ever be used in the shop. And this is just a matter of cutting off the chain at the right length and then reattaching it to the hoist. I should have done this a long time ago. This is going to be way easier to use with the proper size chain. While fixing up the crane, the weather has improved quite a bit. I'll take the trailer over and pick up the compressor and use that new hoist chain to lift the compressor up onto the upper level of the shop. I wasn't sure how the compressor would be packaged, but I knew it'd be on a pallet. Looks like it would have been maybe okay in the rain, but we've got good weather now and I'm having them just drop it on the trailer. I can strap it down and then pull back into the garage and lift the compressor off with the hoist. I'm also not sure how heavy it is, but it doesn't look too bad. And now for the shell game that is moving things in and out of the garage to pull the trailer in and get it turned around. We don't have a lot of space in this back alley, but it works out pretty well with this sort of hammerhead turn we can do. It's a project I did a couple years ago over COVID, and we keep it in the garage when we're not using it in the summer. That means I have to roll it out every time I use the shop, which isn't too bad. It's like a wheelbarrow. This trailer is relatively new, and it's a little tough to see with the Jeep wheel in back, out the back to see where the trailer is, but I'm getting better at using the mirrors to keep track of the sides. There's not a lot of space with all the stuff in the shop. The compressor isn't super heavy, but it is definitely going to be easier to use the hoist with one person doing the job. It's also a good way to just check out the hoist and prepare for the day when I need to move something really heavy with the hoist. So the compressor is put in place. It's kind of in its little Harry Potter room underneath the stairs. That I figure that's out of the way, and I can put a little sled so that any dust that comes down from the stairs doesn't fall on it. I've got the output valve here, easily accessible, the gauge, the switch to turn it on and off, and then there's a condensate timer. There's a little timer that every once in a while will discharge a little bit of air out of the bottom of the tank and kick out any moisture that's in there to keep the air drier and also to keep the tank from corroding. And the plug is they've got a 30 amp twist lock as the plug. I don't have a hardwired spot here now, but I do have an old utility cable that was used for a job site spider box that has the 30 amp twist lock on the end of it. And I went ahead and put a 50 amp welder plug on it, which I can use in one of my welder ports for now. Test it out, make sure that it's working and that this is the right spot for it, get it plumbed and everything. And then I'll probably hardwire a box here. But it looks good, it's in place. I'll put the feet on it and start getting it set up next. So the compressor's in place. It's nice to have shop air. I will be able to run tools like this HPLV spray gun that I'm starting to use, and some of the old tools I use with my old compressor will still work. The old compressor was great, sort of a portable, but it just didn't have the capacity, the constant CFMs to be able to support some of the things I'd like to be able to do. So I can run the paint sprayer, I can put air coolant on the milling machine, and I can also use an air to blow off to prevent fire on the laser cutter with what things I've got now. That will also, that compressor is big enough to be able to support something like a media blasting booth or a plasma cutter if I ever get into one of those. It was also nice to get the hoist cleaned up, really just removing some chain. If there's any lesson there, if you've got something that's nagging you in your shop, do it sooner than later, because I've fought with that thing forever in that yellow bucket with too much chain. Way easier to use now. So thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll be out building.